Once upon a time in a village, there was a beautiful garden that belonged to a giant. The children loved to play there every afternoon after school. It was filled with green grass, colorful flowers, and fruit trees that sang with birds. One day, the giant came back from a long journey. When he saw the children in his garden, he became angry. "What are you doing here?" he roared. "This is my garden. No one is allowed to play here but me." He built a tall wall around the garden and put up a sign that read, "Trespassers will be punished." The children were heartbroken. They had nowhere else to play. Spring came and flowers bloomed all over the land, except in the giant's garden. Since there were no children, the garden remained cold and quiet. It was always winter there. The trees forgot to blossom. The birds stopped singing. Even the snow, frost, and north wind decided to stay there forever. One morning, the giant woke up and heard sweet music, a bird singing outside his window. He hadn't heard birdsong in so long, it sounded magical. He looked outside and saw something wonderful. The children had found a hole in the wall and snuck back into the garden. They were playing joyfully, and the trees had started to bloom once more. Flowers danced in the breeze. Only one corner of the garden remained wintry. A little boy was too small to climb into the tree, and it was still covered in snow and frost. Suddenly, the giant understood. "I've been so selfish," he said sadly. "Now I know why spring wouldn't come." He crept outside, gently lifted the little boy into the tree, and tore down the wall. "From now on, this garden belongs to the children," he declared with a smile. The children cheered, and the garden was filled with joy and life once again. The giant played with them every day, but he never saw that little boy again. Years passed, and the giant grew old. One winter morning, he looked out and saw something miraculous. In the far corner of the garden stood the same little boy, glowing with golden light. He smiled lovingly at the giant. The giant rushed out to greet him. "Where have you been all this time?" he asked. The boy smiled and said gently, "You once let me play in your garden. Today you shall come to mine, in paradise." Later that day, the other children found the giant lying peacefully under a tree, smiling. His garden was in full bloom. Moral of the story: selfishness leads to loneliness, but kindness and sharing bring joy, life, and love.